Anyways, hello everybody, my name is Nolan, and today I will be telling you about the Salem witch trials and why they were awful and never should have happened. But first, let's set the scene. So it was just a normal day in the city of Salem. Everybody was going about their day and minding their business when suddenly they see girls on the streets doing things far from the ordinary. They were throwing fits, convulsing on the floor, and having seizures. And the townspeople of Salem thought, why were they like this? What made these girls this way? And the only explanation, witches. Witches sent from the devil himself came down and cursed them. And this event is what started the Salem witch trials. Contrary to popular belief, the Salem witch trials were not the first instance of witch hunting. Witch hunting had actually been happening hundreds of years beforehand, starting sometime in the 14th century. And just like all other instances of witch hunting, the Salem witch trials never should have happened. But before I explain to you how bad they were, let me tell you how they started. So the Salem witch trials started with 3 children. One named Betty, she was about 9 years old, and 2 girls named Anne and Abigail. They were about 12 years old. And one day they started to mess with like fortune telling and magical spiritual kind of stuff. And suddenly, they started having fits and seizures, and they thought, since they were meddling with fortune telling, that witches had cursed them. Now, obviously today, we know that witches did not curse them, so why were they like this? Well, modern scientists think that they might have eaten bread that had a fungus called ergo in it. Ergo is a fungus that causes fits and hallucinations, which is what these girls were having. But these girls did not know it at the time, and neither did the doctor they went to for the fits and seizures. He also blamed witchcraft. So after they went to the doctor, the girls set out to find who cursed them. So these girls were white, and racism was very prevalent in the 17th century, so they blamed 3 black women for cursing them. All of them pled innocent, until eventually one pled guilty after being badgered for so long to confess. She made up a story about how the devil came to her in a dream and forced her to confess or she would be killed. After this, the first woman confessing that she was a witch, the town went into mass hysteria. Nobody was safe from being accused of being a witch after this. Now, this obviously never should have happened. The Salem witch trials were completely unfair. The accusations were completely based on hearsay, which is not accepted in the 21st century court and should not have been accepted in the 17th century court. Take the example of Bridget Bishop. Her only crime was that she was not like the other girls. She loved to drink and dress licentiously, and she got divorced and remarried several times, which was not okay in the eyes of this Puritan town in 1692. When somebody accused her of being a witch, everybody agreed that she was. She had the most testimonies out of everybody, and so she ended up being the first person to be hanged in the Salem witch trials. And this is a recreation somebody made of her being hanged. You can pass it around if you want to. And so obviously the Salem witch trials were also very cruel, and only 19 people were killed, and this seems like a low number, but you have to remember that 2,000 people were in Salem at the time. That's a pretty low number. So 200 people were tried, so you had a 10% chance of being tried, and if you were, then you were often tortured into confessing. For example, the one 81-year-old man, the whole city was stoning him, trying to get him to confess. They weren't even trying to kill him, but eventually he died anyways. And this is a recreation of his court case. And obviously, this 81-year-old man getting stoned to death was very, very cruel. And if you were in Salem at the time, you had a 10% chance of this happening to you. And after that, you had a 10% chance of being hanged in an awful way to die. They tie a rope around your neck, and the floor drops from beneath you, and you just have to grasp around the rope at your neck, hoping it'll give you some room to breathe. And eventually, you suffocate, just like these witches did. Now, imagine you were a victim of the Salem witch trials. Beaten, badgered, and bruised, forced to say that you do the dirty work of Satan himself just because you weren't like everybody else. The Salem witch trials were inhumane, dogmatic, barbaric, and they never should have happened. Many words have been used to describe the horrors of the Salem witch trials in books, TV shows, and media. but no words can truly describe how awful the incident was. And that's my presentation.